Hello, this is Sandy Gallagher welcoming you back to another powerful lesson of thinking into results. By now, you should be deep into thinking about your mind and how it got you to where you are today. In this lesson, Bob is going to show you how to turn the habits that are holding you back into the thoughts that will change your behavior and create new paradigms, one habit at a time. How do you know that your paradigms are not the right ones? You just look at your results that you're getting. Are they positive? Are they really what you want? If not, then open your mind and look at this powerful way of creating more favorable results. When I started this program, I remember thinking that I had learned how to think in law school, but I certainly didn't learn how to think this way. And I sure wish that I had a long time ago. You're very lucky, because thinking into results will get you on the right path quickly. You're on your way to getting what you want sooner rather than later.
Well, here we are back again. Are you ready to make a big change in your life? Because if you are, this is the lesson that's going to do it. As you really understand what we're going into here, you're going to realize that you're going to get the keys to the kingdom. This is the lesson that'll show you how to step out and do the thing you've always wanted to do. Now, we've had a lot of talk about paradigms. Paradigms literally control everything in our life. Paradigms dictate our logic. You see, when the Wright brothers introduced us to a new kingdom, they were the only one thought that was a logical thing to do. Everybody else said it's illogical. You just can't do it. At one time it was believed that the world was flat. That was our logic. And of course there's a good argument as to why that's logical. I mean, how would the people live on the side of the world or on the bottom? They'd fall off, wouldn't they? Do you see how logic keeps us wired where we are? Well, you know, as the paradigms change, your logic will change. See, it's totally illogical for people to believe that we could improve by 200 or 500%. 5 or 10% is logical. 200, 500, illogical. Your paradigm controls your logic. So what we're going to do to change the paradigm is illogical. It doesn't make any sense. Now, you see, I did this many years ago. I didn't understand what I was doing. I didn't even understand why I kept doing it. It doesn't make any sense to read a book through the second time, the third time, the fourth time, the 24th time, the 124th time. I mean, we've been programmed. You read a book and you put it down. You've read the book. Tell me what's in the book. We can give you certainly an outline of what it's about. But we wouldn't think going back and read it over and over and over again. Let me tell you something. I've been reading this particular copy of this book every day since 1963. Now, the book has fallen apart. Somebody will say, is that the Bible? Well, it's my Bible, I guess. It's Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. He spent his whole life putting this together, studying 500 of the world's most effective individuals. And my reasoning went like this after I was reading it for a while. If he spent his whole life writing it, I think I'll spend my whole life reading it. It's helped me earn millions of dollars. It's made me a very happy human being. I've got all kinds of energy. I have friends all over the world. I think I'll keep reading it. Now, it doesn't make any sense. People say, why do you read the same thing over and over again? Well, for a long time I didn't know what the answer was. I was listening to a record. A recording, a talk record. You see, Earl Nightingale condensed that book and narrated it onto a record. And I just kept reading it over and over, and I kept listening to the record. I drove around with a battery-operated record player in my car, not a good thing to do, trying to keep the needle balanced on the record. And people say, well, why do you keep listening to that? And I really didn't know. I really did not know. Now, what was on the record didn't change. It was a record. It was a man talking. It was one of the first talking records that come out. It was a long time ago. But you know what I was doing? I was changing my paradigm. Changing my paradigm. My income went from $4,000 a year to millions. Now, that can happen to anyone. I have watched students in school go from failing grades to honors by changing the paradigm. I watched one of the largest insurance companies in the world, the Prudential, I watched their sales go up by hundreds of millions of dollars by teaching their people how to change the paradigm. And that's what I want to teach you, how to change the paradigm. So let's go back and think of what the paradigm is. Remember we said when you arrived there was no conscious mind, it was just subconscious? And whatever's going on around you went right into the subconscious. And you see, through repetition, the ideas go into the subconscious, they become fixed in there. That's how you learn a language. We are literally programmed to speak the language we speak. Do you know that if you were born into a home that's bilingual, you would grow up with 2 languages? I do work over in Asia, and I have a chap who's a friend of mine in Kuala Lumpur, has a little boy. At 4, the little boy could speak 4 different languages. It was sort of blowing me away. They thought nothing of it. There's some places where everybody's multilingual because there's all kinds of languages spoken. And you see, the baby doesn't have the ability to say, I can't learn the language, so they learn it. Of course, you didn't have the ability to say, I can't learn the language that I've learned, and so you learn it. Do you know that if you were to take a baby out of a suburb in New York City into an English-speaking family, and take and put that baby into a home in a suburb of Beijing, that baby'd grow up fluent in Chinese, absolutely no knowledge of the English language. And of course, vice versa. The baby from China would grow up speaking English, no knowledge of the English language. We are a product of our environment. There's no question about it. Now, when ideas go in over and over and over, they become fixed here in the subconscious mind. And you've already looked at that. You've learned that lesson. And it's the fixed ideas that are controlling our behavior. We are literally programmed to live the way we're living. Now, the question is, how do we change it? Well, let's think of it this way. The paradigm controls the behavior produces the result. Now, I want you to take a look at results in your life that you do not like. Understand that there's a law of opposites. So you take a look at the R, you'll see up in the upper left-hand side of the R, there's a minus sign. On the upper right-hand side of the R is a positive sign. Now, your results are either going to be negative or positive. And the fact is, they'll be both. Some results are negative, some are positive. Now, let's suppose that there's a negative with your income. And you want to change your income. You say, well, I can't really change my income because the company dictates how much you're going to earn. Your income does not come from your company. It comes through your company. It comes from one infinite source of supply. And when you change your behavior, your income's going to change. But let's say we'll say that's negative. We write down the income the way it is. And understand that what we've written down is a graphic or a written description of an idea that's fixed in our subconscious mind. Now let's take another sheet of paper and we'll go to the positive side and we write down how we would like it to be, and we write it in the present tense. I am so happy and grateful now that, and you write down the result you want. Now this could be in your sales. Maybe your sales aren't just too brilliant. So you write down the sales the way they are. My sales go up and down. You know, when I get ahead, I lose some. I just can't seem to get past a certain point. Now that might be the way it is. So we write that down. And that is a written description of what's programmed here in the paradigm. Then we sit down and we write the positive on another sheet of paper. And we write down the way we'd like our sales to be. I'm so happy and grateful now that effective leads flow to me on a continual basis. My results are continually going up. My sales are getting better every day. I keep becoming more and more effective as a salesperson. Whatever you want, the results you want. Now, take the negative ones and literally burn them. Because that's a habitual way of looking at your sales, and you don't want to do that anymore. Now, does that get rid of the idea in here? No. That's symbolic, though. We're letting it go. Now we've got the positive. Now, do you see, this is the part that's illogical. We have written it out. We should sit down and write that out maybe 100 times every morning and 100 times every night. We should record it. Make a recording of it. I have a recording with respect to money. I'm so happy and grateful now that money comes to me in increasing quantities through multiple sources on a continuous basis. I just keep saying that, you see? And it's the repetition of the idea that eventually takes root in the subconscious mind. And as it gains strength, the negative idea that is already there becomes weaker. Pretty soon, the one takes over and starts to control you, and the other loses control. Now, do you see, you should only work on one or two things at a time. But if you think you're going to change just because you become aware of this, forget it. It's not going to happen. You have to take and realize your paradigm is a multitude of habits. And what we want to work on is one or two habits at a time. I mentioned that we saw the sales in Prudential go up by hundreds of millions of dollars. I got everyone to commit to do two things. One, they would be skin to skin with somebody. By 9 a.m. every morning, they would be in front of a prospect. And they would ask everyone to purchase a minimum of $100,000 worth of insurance. Now, that was in the 70s. They were selling more $100,000 policies in a week than they previously sold in a year. Nobody was asking people to buy the 100. And that's how the company changed. They worked on two things at a time. And because there was a group of them working on it, there was some camaraderie there, and everybody was doing the same thing. And so they were all changing paradigms. And it's through the repetition of ideas that the paradigm changes. See, the paradigm is a multitude of habits. It's a multitude of ideas that are fixed in your subconscious mind. Now, you may have inherited them at birth. You may have got them in your little life. It doesn't matter how you got them. The fact is they're there. Do you want to know what your paradigm's like? Observe your behavior and your results. It'll tell you what's going on inside. Now, if you want to change it, you've got to change it the same way it was planted. There's only two ways to fix an idea in a person's subconscious mind. One is bang, just like that. It's like a shock. It's called an emotional impact. 9/11. That was an emotional impact. That doesn't happen that often. When it does, it's usually negative. It could be positive, but it's usually negative. The other is the constant spaced repetition. Read the same thing, write the same thing, listen to the same thing over and over and over and over again, maybe for a month or two. Now, do you see, that defies logic. Your logical mind say that doesn't make sense. It makes a lot of sense when you really understand how the mind works. You want to change your paradigm. You've got to observe a result that you don't want, write it on a sheet of paper. Take another sheet of paper and say, what would the polar opposite to that be? See, polarity is the law of the universe. In, out, up, down, hot, cold, positive, negative. Everything has an opposite. There'd be no inside to this room if there wasn't an outside. So you take a result you don't like, that you're getting constantly, and write it out, describe it in all its negativity, in detail. Then take another sheet of paper and say, what is the exact opposite to that? And you write it out. Take and burn the negative. Now, it may seem silly, do it anyway. You're getting a license here to be silly. Be silly. Burn it. It's symbolic. Let it go. Then say, I'm going to rewrite this every day 100 times. I'm going to keep repeating it. I know it's illogical. I know it's not going to happen. I know this is silly. But as you start to do it, you're going to start to think it isn't so silly. You're going to start to believe it will happen, and then you're going to observe it happen. Then you pick a couple more habits. That's how paradigms are changed. Paradigms are nothing but a multitude of habits, and you can change them. Work on one or two at a time. If there's a group of you in a company, pick the same ones. Do what I did with the people in Prudential. Just pick the same habit. Make up your mind, you're going to come in 30 minutes early and you're going to study. Now just see, the mind says, I don't want to do that. It is the only way to develop understanding. There is no other way. You could say, I am going to come to work a half hour early every day and I'm going to put one of these lessons on. If you do that, I guarantee you, in a year, you need a telescope to look back to see where you were, because your awareness is just going to continually expand. Change paradigms, one or two at a time. You change the paradigm, you change the results in your life. Let's talk for a minute about corporate paradigms. Now, you could call it corporate culture, because culture is nothing but a paradigm. I go all over the world. I go into many different countries and different cultures. That culture is paradigm. It is group habit. A corporation has a culture. And when a person starts to work for a company, they move into that culture. Pretty soon, they become a part of it. It becomes a part of their way of thinking about that company. Now, if the company wants to raise the bar, if they want to improve the bottom line, the culture must improve. So how do we go about this? Well, let's stop and think of how we think about the company. How do people look at the company, the people in the company? Now, this always filters down from the top and up from the bottom. As we start to help everyone understand this, we can get departments sitting and having little group meetings. What are some habit patterns we can change? You know, Robert Russell, a marvelous author one time, said that habit is God's way of making good automatic in our life. We don't have to put in longer hours in any department in a company. We don't have to work harder. But if we change some of our habitual way of operating in this particular department, we would find it would become much more effective. So let's understand there is a corporate paradigm, corporate culture, that is nothing but a multitude of habits. See, the people of the company, think of this for a moment. If you take the people out of a company, you don't have a company anymore. All you've got is a brick and mortar edifice with a bunch of stuff in it. You go into a hotel, take all the employees out of a hotel, you don't have a hotel. You've got a building with a lot of stuff in it. A hotel is the people, a company is the people. And people operate with individual paradigms, and then when we come together, we have a corporate paradigm or a corporate culture. So small groups can get together in a department. It could be in an administration or the accounting. It could be in a machine shop. It could be in the sales department. And say, what are some habits that we're involved here, habit of way we operate? It's something that we all do automatically. It's part of our culture. It's part of our paradigm. And brainstorm it and start to see that there's all kinds of them. Then as a group, decide on one or two that as a group you're going to change. Now make no mistake about it. When you change habits, I don't care whether it's at work or at home, you improve your life. So the time you spend in your department improving the culture or the paradigm of that department, your whole family is going to benefit from it, because what you've done is you bring more of you to the party. We get rid of some of the negative habits and we develop positives. In fact, we replace the negative with the positive. So do you know, people say, well, the company won't really appreciate it. It doesn't matter whether the company appreciates it. It's how are you going to benefit from it? Every part of your life will benefit, and I would say the company will appreciate it. But it's done by individuals, because the department is nothing but a group of individuals. And so we do it on an individual basis. We can do it on a group basis. Everything starts to improve when we change the corporate paradigm, the image of the company. And that's what happens, and that's the way we do it. You will be amazed at the changes you can make. You can have a lot of fun. You can turn it into fun. And think of this, when it stops to become fun, it starts becoming work. Love what you do. Get excited about it. Get excited about changing it. Make it better. You know, there's a good example. Tiger Woods is without question the greatest golfer in the world, possibly the greatest athlete in the world. Do you know that the person that comes second is quite a way behind him? He is the best in the world, and yet he changed his swing twice to become better. Think of how he's benefited from it. Let's make up our mind, we're going to change how we operate here. And we're going to enjoy it. We're going to get rid of a bad habit and replace it with a good one of how we operate. Agree on the habit and everybody do the same thing. And then when you've got that down pat, take another one. And you're going to find the company operates better, you're going to be happier, we'll have more fun, and the whole world improves. When you change you change everything in your life. Trust me. I've been doing it for close to 50 years. I know it works, and you will too. Spot Proctor, thank you.
These last two lessons on paradigms are really powerful, so dig into them. They're packed with tools that'll help you get the results that you want. You've learned how paradigms now are the subconscious programs that control our behavior. Ideas come into our mind over and over, and then they become fixed. And so we're literally programmed to live the way we're living and to work the way we're working. The paradigm controls the behavior without any conscious thoughts on our part, and then the behavior leads to our results. Your results tell you what you're thinking at a deep level. There's a really great exercise in your guide that you can share as a team, and it will help you sort through those beliefs that no longer serve you and change them to new beliefs that will serve you. Spend as much time as you can on this and ask yourselves, what are some of the habits, what are some of the things that we all do automatically? How is that way of thinking serving us? Once you start looking at your behavior, you'll be amazed at how much of it is unconscious. So have some fun with this. Break old habits and create new ones. Habits that lead you to more positive results.